Raz. So Lee Sin away from Fireloli and Graves aimed at Swift.
You might just first pick the Elise, because there are so many junglers that just got banned out here. Newbee wants to solidify a proper jungle pick, but they might actually go towards, I wonder what this man has down. He does have a Kha'Zix sitting in his champion pool. Hasn't gone to it recently, but I would be surprised if they pick a Varus up. All right, there we go.
It comes out, and that's brought in here for LWX immediately, so really wanted that for him. I mean, Caitlyn was still available for LWX, so it wasn't even like he was pressured to bring out Varus right now, but they wanted it for their composition, apparently.
Wanted it for the composition, wants it likely for the lane.
Yeah.
You'd expect EDG to take the Karma. Yeah, the instant hover on the Karma, but the pickup on the, yeah, there we go.
The Ivern, yeah, coming out.
All right, so this is a response. I like the Karma for the lane, because Newbee were definitely going to look to take on the second phase, but the Ivern pick coming out of Fireloli is a cheesy one that you don't want to get invaded on early. I wonder what Newbee would look to pick up. They don't have a Graves, which has usually been a strong one up against that pick.
Did you expect Ivern to come out here?
I did not.
From Fireloli?
Definitely did not.
Yeah. It's not historically been a pick from EDG, but Newbee bring out the Rumble for that top lane for V. So he'll bring that in very early, and we were talking about that last game as well. Maybe that's something he'll bring out. And now that Gragas has been taken off the table, it just makes sense, but Kennen is still here if Mouse wants it.
Yeah, they are definitely prioritizing stronger push in lanes. That was the change from last game, as I mentioned. They were getting shoved in. They couldn't really use the advantages they were given to them, because passive advantages were just coming in through EDG and proper laning phases. So this has been their response, is to just pick everything. Pick that Rumble. We don't care what you're going to look to counter in the top side against us. Fizz is open. Don't mind. They should mind, but they do not. So shove should be in favor of Rumble. I do expect Mouse to go towards the Fizz, but it's in the second phase. So Newbee has an opportunity to just ban it.
That is true, because EDG's final pick was Caitlyn as we head towards the second phase of bans. We'll see what will come out here from EDG. There's a jungle ban. And yeah, of course, Newbee haven't picked up a jungler yet, so they're going to just hit him twice probably. Newbee, I'm expecting top lane bans, specifically Fizz. Okay, it's going to be another ban against Scout. You almost probably have to take away at least a pick against Scout, to be fair.
Yeah, and even just to hit that point harder, with EDG now just going to go right into jungle, because they already had two in the initial phase. What is Newbee going to play? Kha'Zix is still available, and they have Rumble, Zyra, so it theoretically can work. It's just usually the Ivern is strong into it.
Yeah.
In the composition.
There's the Kha'Zix.
They're just going to ban that too. They don't even care.
Rek'Sai?
Rek'Sai, likely.
This is one of those scenarios where I actually think Shyvana could work.
Like,
no joke. It's a possibility. I know some teams were playing around with it. And into Ivern, you actually just take away all of his camps before he gets rolling. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. And if it gets picked, I look like a god. If not, I'm a play-by-play. Regardless, Newbee are going to final pick or final ban the Syndra towards Scout. And that means that both Fizz and Kennen are up. Kennen is the traditional counter against Rumble, but Fizz is just Fizz right now. He's absurd.
Yeah, and if you pick Fizz in the matchup, you essentially recognize that you're going to get constantly shoved in, and you're going to be hopefully picking up waves under tower. This one's a little bit more of an aggressive one on that one, and you can itemize a lot better. So that's a pick. And they have Ivern too, so they don't have to worry about having too many squishy champions.
I'm not going to get excited until it gets locked.
Are you sure about that? I can see you. You're already excited.
Nah, it's not going to happen. But even if this Nautilus does get locked in, it means that the Rumble is going elsewhere.
It's going straight into the jungle.
Yeah, for Swift. So I like the early pickup of the Rumble because it actually gave Newbee that opportunity.
Yeah. So one thing to take note of is that Rumble jungle was it was being played quite a bit in week 1, primarily out of RNG. Had a pretty low win rate. It is a very passive jungler, so thankfully for him, he's going up against an Ivern, so he doesn't have to worry about having a jungler that trades into him. So he gets that. He gets proper lanes to shove, and at the same time, he can farm up himself for proper team fighting.
And as we all know, fire types are strong against grass types, so it does make sense. And final pick was Talon coming in from Coco, so we'll get to see that one once more. Coco has had some really good performances on Jace, on Talon. I'm almost a bit surprised that we didn't see Jace yet in this series, because it was what he was having incredible performances on the other day.
Yeah, just keeps getting banned. EDG recognized that.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that he's doing too damn well on that Jace pick. His highest win rate champion, and he just keeps picking it for himself. So take it away from they definitely saw the VODs out of this man going up against IG on the Jace pick. Jace was a primary pick for him going up against IG. I don't understand why they didn't ban it. But that's another rant for another day.
It was like 3 games in a row as well, so at least EDG know what's up. That being said, we've seen equally good performances from his Talon, so I am very excited to see what Coco does with the pick. However, going into Game 3, if this is another loss for Newbee, I would like to see Cool come up. The fact that we would possibly see Newbee get knocked out of playoff contention, not seeing Cool come in, would be a big hit, at least for me as a viewer. Yeah,
and for people out there who hasn't seen Cool play, because that was just through the regular season, he just really had incredible days. Like just racking up MVPs in the games that he would come out in. And so individually, you would see that he was a star performer. But for Coco, Coco played a lot better in tandem with his jungler. And sometimes you wouldn't even see it. You wouldn't see the differences, which is why you would favor towards Coco. But they definitely do, and that's probably why they're catering towards Coco more so than not. In the regular season, it was split between Cool and Coco in terms of 22 games for Cool and 20 games for Coco.
And the funny thing was as well, like Coco hasn't even been playing that much with Swift.
Yeah.
Like in these series and in this playoff run, they haven't even been interacting that much. So then I'm like, well, why not put in Cool, who is a player who is very much self-sufficient and will do his own thing and do much of the heavy lifting by himself. It always feels like that would affect the team more. That being said, if Coco has a killer performance on Talon, it does speak towards why you would keep him in.
And remember that they do have a lot of performers just sitting in their sub lineup. They also, like Sky, as I mentioned, they've never pulled out 9 as a jungler. But all of these players are incredibly hungry to come out and perform. Happy as well. So they want to be able to get that chance to prove themselves on that big stage. If they win out in this one, of course, Coco gets a second chance. He can prove himself and his worth in this one. The last game wasn't even poor from him. In fact, he actually had a decent lead in that early on in that game for himself. But yeah, going in, if there is a possible Game 3, if EDG is able to take this one, then Newbee has options to put out their hungry players to really shake things up and get EDG guessing a little bit.
Meanwhile, on the opposite side, EDG are in good spirits and they have every right to be. I mean, that first game was almost too easy for them. So I'd like to see a bit of a bigger fight being set up from Newbee as we take another look once more at these full compositions. Scout back onto that Karma in the mid lane. And honestly, a big setup for Zet in this game to do well on his Caitlyn.
It's a setup for Zet, and it's also a setup for Mouse. I have not seen this kind of a composition coming out of EDG. Not primarily, of course, Ivern. We don't see Ivern a lot. We don't see Ivern on Fireloli at all. But a split push and carry coming out of Meiko. I haven't seen that since he played Jason like week 1, week 2, which is nice to see now that he's back on it. But that would just mean that, you know, at some point you'd have to play towards him, because if he ever falls to this Nautilus early on, suddenly Nautilus is getting himself a ninja tab. He's stacking up armor, and you can mitigate that and meanwhile play towards team fights or a bottom lane dive. You don't want that.
No, you do not.
So, yeah, EDG definitely has to pay attention to Mouse, who they have been leaving on an island for the most part in the latter portions of the split.
Does anything jump out to you here, Raz? I think everything is pretty standard from across the board. We've got Grasp of the Undying from V, which is, I guess, more uncommon than the Courage of the Colossus nowadays. Meiko has gone for Thunderlords. Yeah,
Thunderlords for Scout is something. It's usually Deathfire Touch once again on the Karma that you can take lane strength and just get proper poke out. But he is a range matchup into Coco, so he's probably a little bit more confident that he can proc the Thunderlords.
It's true, and Swift is getting the pull of his life.
Oh, this feels good.
Yeah, he's not even taken a hit yet from Red Buff. So, no, God bless plans. That'll be a bit awkward though. He'll get it. He'll be absolutely fine. There was a bit of a contest over Raptors as well. Swift will get that level 2. Fireloli is, of course, setting up his top jungle and is probably looking to steal this one away. Recaller comes over the wall. I believe he was tagged out by that preemptive ward from Newbee, but it's not going to matter because it's Ivern.
Yeah, and you can't do much about it. We see teams going up against Ivern, and the way they deal with that stealing act is usually level 1. They try and trade sides. like you would invade their blue side and you would force Ivern into just clearing out top side to your blue, so you can trade half for half. What you would do is you would give up top side, give it away to Ivern, but you would take full control of the your bot side, and that would primarily just secure yourself the same amount of farm that Ivern would get, and you wouldn't get cheese like you just saw right now.
Yeah. And Fireloli, I mean, that was the easiest run of his life. He just goes into his jungle, takes 2 camps, takes the enemy blue, goes back to his own blue. Might even give it over to Scout here as well. Like, he just had the perfect start, triple buffing Swift while he's on Rumble, which struggles as it is. I mean, blue buff isn't the biggest thing.
It isn't.
Of course, he's a resourceless champion, but it is still pretty big regardless. And you can see just the nerfs on 7.7 to Talon. Bit of damage, shaved off just the early game from him, and that was more of a top lane nerf actually against melee matchups, but still something we'll see today.
Yeah, you get a few times where Coco, or at least the Talon pick, would get a lot of all-ins with the passive, and the damage that you get off of it would be a little bit oppressive. It's not going to change too much, of course. It's just a tiny bit of damage. In this matchup, it should be a little harder since it is against a Karma, but my god, LWX, feeling that pain in the bot.
He is. He's up against a Meiko, Lulu, and a Zet Caitlyn, though, so it's kind of to be expected. This lane is very oppressive. Amor is trying his best to land these roots, but they're just not hitting.
And I just wanted to see this lane, or this 2v2 matchup, because LWX and more coming in, they've dominated the bottom lane of IG, so I want to see how they would do against Zet and Meiko, who have just played bot lane so damn well throughout the split. And even though the matchups have been still going in favor of EDG in the laning phase, they've been definitely making it work for themselves. So a massive CS lead in favor of Zet. It's not too big. Yeah, Varus still has to pick it up from the under tower, but it's really early on in the game.
Top lane is also getting blasted. Mouse just completely pushed V out of lane. Going towards the bot lane once more as more will get a nice route down onto Meiko and even up the playing field just a tad. Seen teleport initially from V back to the top lane. Mouse will get the preferential back timing, and he's almost 2 waves ahead of his counterpart. Bot lane is also having a great time in terms of CS. It's only the mid lane that is equal. So all in all, EDG having a great start to this game. 400 gold ahead and there's been no kills.
What's interesting about this is that EDG are technically in the same position as they were in Game 1, even though Newbee have picked themselves comps that theoretically you can imagine like an early game lead for them. Especially Talon, that really does rely on being able to get his early advantage and pushing it on to roams towards bot side. And then Varus and Zet, or at least Varus and the Zyra, you would expect to get one pick and then you can turn it into something. They're just getting shoved in. They can't even get picks for themselves because Meiko and Zet have been positioning so well in this. And so you could see that they're still getting punished. These picks aren't paying off. And they do rely on the lane working out, but also perhaps a rumble gank, which is very awkward to even say. So something has to change.
Yeah, I mean, Rumble has to hit both harpoons, and even then it's just a big slow. It's not even hard CC, so even in that perfect scenario, it's difficult to gank 3-6.
And it's just 5 minutes, nearing 6 minutes into the game, and this tower is almost about halfway down. And that has been the case for EDG lanes, or at least the bottom lane, time and time again. And usually when it gets to this level, that's when you start to see EDG start to pile onto the bottom lane. That's when you start to see Fireloli start to pressure that lane, start to take that side of the jungle apart a little bit more, and start putting in weak pressure. That might not happen. Swift is looking topside.
Yes, Mouse has level 6, and V has his own ultimate. He's going to use it. Mouse is dropping low very quickly. Swift with the kill. Surely, no. Mouse with the stun. Swift coming after, is burning out the rat, and down goes Kennen.
There we have it. That was the first gank of the day, and it goes straight into Swift's pocket.
Well, Coco looking for his own kill in the mid lane. Ignite comes down, but the shielding out from Scout, it's enough to keep him alive. All
right, but he gets pressure in lane. That's all he wants. But just to hit that point on the top side, Mouse is far behind, so this is going to be nice leads coming in for Newbee. They definitely needed it. Now, Nautilus goes back to base, gets a Ninja Tabus for himself, goes back into lane, and it's suddenly not going to be as bad as it was then. He's not even that far behind in CS, so he's definitely going to be coming back into lane a lot more comfortable. Oh, Fireloli has to get out of here.
He wanted to take out that red buff. Not going to happen. Swift will meet him there. Both level 5. Swift being level 6. Fireloli would not have been in good shape, but Swift places down another ward. The rest of EDG is on their way. More comes up. He's also low himself, but he's able to provide fire support over the wall of these plants. V coming down, staggering blow onto Fireloli, has to burn the flash. Stayed around for too long.
Yeah, Swift knew what was bound to happen. Coco was about to come through. My God, what happened to LWX and more? They definitely felt some kind of pain. But just to hit the point even harder, Swift was sitting around because he knew that Talon was coming back to lane. V was even coming back. The risk now is that because the Newbee pulled in their top laner for that play, all the way up in the top side of the map, Mouse was just hidden up on that turret. I want to see how low that turret is now. There's a lot of low people here.
I'm feeling very anxious, Raz. The fact that LWX is literally an auto attack away from death, and the level 6 just got hit more. Oh my God. Had he been very slightly to the left or right, I mean, he was confident, and LWX knew that he had the health. It just still made me extremely anxious.
Yeah, it starts to stand up a little tall.
Yeah, stand on end. Fireloli is looking for this invade. He is probably going to spot this out now. He's placing a ward over the wall. Notices a control ward in there now. He's playing defensive because he knows that A, Mouse is still ahead of him, and B, Fireloli could be around the corner waiting for a gank, so he has to play like this. Yeah,
he made a bit of a risk, even though the first gank came in his way. And thankfully, that turret is not low at all, no matter how much time Mouse had with that turret. But he came in late. Mouse was able to secure himself a CS lead, and Fireloli didn't get killed in that entire invade. Sure, he burnt Flash, but he got away scot-free. And so he got a bit of a lead just in terms of Nautilus getting the assist gold.
Sure.
But just pure wave after wave coming in favor of Kennen.
Also helps the composition that Newbee are looking towards, trying to get these mid-game skirmishes and fights, and Swift already getting that kill will help out him accelerate towards Magic Pen for his equalizer, so everything is going according to plan for Newbee in this early game, despite the lanes definitely going the way of EDG. The first blood helped out a lot. And Mouse is going to get this red buff as well, so that's going to help him a lot.
That is the moment V sees that in lane. It's an instant tilt. Yeah, there we go. Take a look at that.
You get this one minion, and I'm not getting anything else for like the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, he's going to constantly get chunked out if he decides to walk in range of auto attack. But that's also extra damage on turret once Kennen starts to really hammer at that. So this is the same position we hit on what EDG was strengths in last game, is that Karma should be able to deal with the Talon. Even though Talon does want to roam, Karma should just consistently jump in and force Coco to sit in lane or lose hits on Talon. Same thing top side of the map, and bottom lane we've been seeing that for a while now. So Newbee need to set these skirmishes, they need to make these plays happen quickly. Thankfully the gank top side was one example of that, and of course Coco being able to all-in, use his ulti. Oh!
It's gonna hurt. Ultimate as well to the face of LWX, and I'm a little surprised that Zed didn't hit him with that headshot he had prepared. But regardless, LWX did have heal, so he would have still stayed alive. More was around the corner. We're 10 minutes into this game. The Mountain Dragon is up. Swift and Fireloli are going to cross paths. In comes Scout as well. Places down the brush and hides his opponent from himself, but Zet is here, and Fireloli, this is not entirely going well for him, but he'll turn it around onto Swift. What? That's a lot of damage as Daisy is coming in there as well. Coco comes into the fight, lots of damage onto Zet. He has the shielding, and down goes Talon. Swift is so incredibly low, pilt over Peacemaker, not going to find its mark. Meanwhile, what is V doing here? Why are you there? He's going to die to somebody, and it's actually going to go right over to Zet. There is no escape for the big tanky Nautilus. But I'm fearing for the life of LWX as Mouse is coming in. We'll trade auto attacks. He doesn't have the red buff, but he's looking for the kill anyway. LWX into the brush, and the shielding for Fireloli. Don't know what that flash was about. Oh, he was getting away from more, apparently. Zed finally takes down Nautilus. And Daisy just wants blood. Daisy is a bloodthirsty killer.
And they lost nothing in one fell swoop. EDG just takes that team fight, and it was all because Swift was caught out without flash. He got flash afterwards, but he had to all in that fight or he would have died. And so they just decided to all in on it. You see the TP coming through from V, and that's how he just got himself caught out. They tried to all in on Zet, but the moment Zet got Lulu ulted and flashed away, it was just everybody on Newbee just being in the wrong position because they were trying to back up Swift in an initially poor play from him.
I mean, EDG will take a fight like that any day of the week. A prolonged fight like that, where everyone can get multiple rotations of their shields up, like, that's literally the perfect fight for EDG. It didn't happen in an instant, which is what Newbee are looking for with a Swift ultimate, with Coco coming in, looking to assassinate. If you don't get that assassination down, it's not going to happen, and EDG are going to beat you out.
And that's going to be really painful from Newbee, because they definitely wanted to be taking these skirmishes as the game went on, especially with the Talon, but with the lead going straight into EDG's favor with that massive skirmish, yeah, ain't looking good now. Zet's going into a costlier build too. You usually see Caitlyn's going straight into a Blade of the Rune King. This time around he's going for the crit build. Sit on that BF sword, go straight towards Runans. Not going to get punished with how much gold he's able to accrue in the lane, but also with that entire kill and assist that he got as well.
It's definitely become more of a 50-50 as the last couple weeks have gone on. V and Swift looking for a gank onto Mouse. It's all going to come down to this hook, and V's holding it. Launches himself around top, but Mouse finds the kill on the 1 versus 2. Turns it around onto V. He's got the teleport from Scout, and he is walking the Nautilus down. He'll have to flash away, but Mouse is just too damn strong.
Yeah, the man is squishy. Swift instantly died in that scenario. They're going to take a kill off of a play Newbee tries to force, and they're going to go for a dragon here. Earth Dragon for EDG. They're wiping them up.
This is ridiculous. Coco's going to try and find a straggler as EDG make their way towards the middle lane, but not going to happen whatsoever. EDG, off of a couple fights and a couple mistakes from Newbee, are now significantly ahead of their opponents.
Yeah, and it's looking bad, especially now that EDG have put their lane assignments through, where Karma's going straight bot side, able to take that wave. Caitlyn's in mid, so where's Talon? You want Talon to go side wave at some point, but he ain't ready now. He shouldn't be able to take on the Karma. Karma is far too defensive at this point. So they want to keep him mid to rotate 2 sides, but might not be an option here.
And we'll see. There are still tools in the Newbee arsenal to fire back in this game. Specifically looking at these team fights, like a full-blown 5v5.
Yeah.
It will be harder and harder if EDG want to accelerate this game, because while they've got the advantage here, Raz, if they'll look to engage on Newbee, you've got multiple ultimates coming down. The Queen of Disengage, Zyra coming in, so it's not done and dusted just yet.
Yeah, and I think that even hitting on Zyra a little bit more is that Zyra Stranglethorns into LWX's ulti. That has been a primary point of which people have created picks and skirmishes for themselves in the lane, and of course, and out of the lane. Because you just CC them to death if they don't have QSS. More is caught out here.
Well, speaking of the Zyra, she's dead. But tell me about what she could do, right?
She could, if she was alive. Be able to get down to Stranglethorn and immediately just combo into LWX's ulti. And just try and kill that one target down and back away if you can't go further in the fight. But they're getting picked apart. This is just sad coming out of Newbee that Moore was going in for a pick, or he was just trying to clear out a vision control, but he didn't have anybody else from Newbee to help him out. So he just gets caught out and completely demolished. Caitlyn's doing a lot of damage with that ulti.
She's now 2-0-1 and is very quickly making herself towards those 2-item power spikes, and that's I suppose bad news bears for Newbee, honestly, when Mouse is equally as strong on the top side. Like V, if he gets stunned out here, it's going to take a lot of damage from Mouse, as you can see. Well, there's half his HP gone, so yeah, good luck, Newbee. This is going to be difficult now.
So the Newbee, the task they have to face right now is that Caitlyn's going to be constantly shoving up mid, and they've already chipped down that mid lane terror quite a bit. They're not even moving Mouse. He's stuck in that lane, and he's going to be able to chip down the Nautilus as well. So they need to look towards what LWX and more can push. They want to be able to push out bottom lane, but once they tried, it was not the case. So they're trying to push out mid and try not so much to outpush, but to just match Zet and Meiko's push. So they don't get their mid lane chipped out. They're trying to find plays for themselves, but they themselves are getting caught out. So they're trying to slow this game down, and they really do need to. Oh no.
I'll take risky teleports for 600 points. As he got stunned out there, which he probably will in a second, as Mouse will get these auto attacks down. He could have lost all of his health once again. But still, V will stabilize, I say with quotation marks in the air, because he's almost lost his tower. As a result, Swift will head towards the top side along with Moore to try and stop this bleeding, but Mouse is just relentless.
Yeah, and the question is, what is Swift going to do about it? Because the last time he went there for a 2v1, he himself died. He didn't have any resistances because obviously he wants to go towards the AP. He has himself the AP jungle item. And you can get a little bit of HP if he goes towards the Andre second. But that's still not enough because Mouse is just going to focus him alone. And Nautilus isn't doing enough damage for him to focus him otherwise, right? That being said,
well,
EDG have set their target.
More now Duret's heading in here looking for the combo, but Zed is doing so much damage. In comes Swift as well, lays down the equalizer, but it's hidden in the brushes. Coco comes in, he wants this assassination onto Zed, but he's got the shields on top of him. Another one from Fireloli, and finally Zed will go down, but they've traded their own AD carry for it. Root Caller connects, and Coco, he's not going anywhere. Or is he? He has the parkour, he has the moves, and he'll make it out of that mid lane. It's a 1-for-1 trade with Mouse. Will take the top lane tower.
And that was all focus from Newbee to be able to get an advantage for them. But take a look at this. Mouse is going straight into V.
Mouse has one stun. He's finding the second. V will be stopped momentarily, but I think he should be good to go. Finds the final dredge line onto the tower. And it is a 1-for-1 plus the tower in the top side as Swift drops low in the mid lane.
Yeah, a net advantage for EDG because they trade AD carries. They tried their hardest to get on top of Zed, but there was a shields upon shields upon shields. This shield composition's a little hard to deal with. Zed was able to survive for quite some time, and they traded out, and Mouse is just kept to his own.
Oh, Fireloli connects the Root Caller over the wall, and that just signs the death warrant for Coco. He was not going anywhere.
35-second death timer for Coco, and he was the one tasked to clear out mid, or at least hold it for just a little bit. Means that EDG is going to come right back mid. It's oppressive, but there ain't nothing you can do about it. They tried before, and they literally went out in a net loss for trying to challenge it.
But that's just Ivern in a nutshell. If he gets ahead, he was incredibly oppressive. Moore is going to take a full headshot to the face. The hidden trap is the deadliest. He'll have to take a trip back to base now.
All right, and it just comes down to the next wave. And the next wave is going to come back much faster than that Zyra. So EDG just take that time which they have when waiting to give Mouse that Rift Herald. What can you say?
Newbee are getting dissected is what I can say, Raz. This is insane. EDG with another game like this. It was even at the start. It was a couple kills going over to Newbee, but as soon as they decide that they want to win a fight, they do, and they just take that momentum and take the whole game. Like, Newbee need to do something and need to do it right now.
They're going to have to try. And this comes off of Coco because he's the one that has the most mobility, can create a numbers advantage for himself if Newbee tried to go for these 1-3-1s. He's just not finding proper opening in these fights because that's so well protected. So you have to either get Meiko or maybe a free Mouse.
Free? Oh, we'll see about that one, Raz.
We'll see. They're
5 members are closing in. He needs to kill him very quickly. He's dropping low. Everything is thrown on top of him, including the kitchen sink. And Mouse will indeed drop. This tower should fall here to Newbee. And Fireloli is not going to try and defend, but we've got pressure on top and mid.
Yeah, it could turn into a race. It's a race that Newbee does not want because they're going to be losing quite a bit. So they have to back away and defend because they're trading 1 tower for 2 towers separately in different lanes here.
Well, it's a half-hearted play from Newbee because they're sending 3 people to push, 2 people to try and defend, but mid's going to die, top's going to die before they even get that to happen.
They don't even have the pressure once they do get here. If Rumble had ulti, then sure. But he used it in the play bot side. So that's a 2 towers in the bottom side of the map. Maybe that works out in the future, but they don't have a split pusher themselves unless if that's who they're sending Talon down. But if that's the case too, then suddenly 20 minutes, Baron is up. EDG's instantly going to press onto this. So Talon has no way to be able to pressure bottom side. EDG's completely fine with that because Kennen's going to constantly just shove out this wave. Doesn't matter to him. That's just gold going on to Newbee, and that's the only thing that they valued from that push. The trading gold. That's it.
Because that may be the worst trade deal I've seen in the history of trade deals. Maybe ever.
Do you know something about trade deals?
What?
No, I was just asking you.
Oh. I knew it was bad. Is what I'm saying. The fact that it was like a 1 for 3 in terms of towers for Newbee. I mean, yes, they got some gold, but they just increased the differential between them and EDG. And normally, okay, yeah, if you're only looking at yourself, but they have an opponent in this game. League of Legends. Like, they need to try and catch up and actually get into these fights on an equal footing. As it is, EDG have the item advantage. Caitlyn is now 2 items and the QSS, even harder to kill in these fights. Mid lane, just going for the classic supporty build with a bit of AP thrown in there as well for good measure. Top lane's in good shape, even going for the Sterix. Could even be a frozen mallet, we don't know. Mouse could go for that feasibly at this point in the game.
Yeah, I definitely should go Frozen Mallet. This is what's going to be ridiculous. And you talked about it. It is definitely a bad trade deal. But it is something, any trade deal for them is a good one. They want any bit of gold that they could take in a Hail Mary team fight. Because they know it's coming down to this Baron play, which is why they're sending Nautilus bot side to just hold Mouse at any way he can. Any way. They know it's a ticking time bomb because Mouse is just completely shoving in and going to be able to harass out the matchup. But if they can just find that one opening, which EDG has just not been showing, then they can pick a fight. Leandri's is up and available for Swift. That's going to be pretty key if you can get a proper ulti on top of the constantly shoving out 4-man mid here. That's going to be the question. They need to be able to upset this play.
Still pushing.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize how disgusting this composition is from EDG when ahead.
Ooh, this has to work.
It has to work. Mouse is going to pop the ultimate as soon as he comes back down. Coco looking for the assassinate. He's still pretty tanky. But both sides pretty even at this point in time. Got the shielding coming in from Scout, and that's going to turn it right back around in terms of Mouse's favor. Here comes Daisy, turning this into a 6v3. And Newbee are trying to look for table scraps, but Mouse is still alive.
And with Varus pushing up mid, they're going to segue this straight into a bottom lane siege. That was a one play that Newbee thought they had a bit of time to be able to get that kill, but it had to be fast. They had to be really fast because Mouse is pretty tanky in the sense that he has a tiny bit of health, but he has a lot of lifesteal for himself in the attack feed. He was able to just completely, he was very close to killing out Coco, but of course with that extra bit of shield coming in from Scout, who was booking it in his direction.
Yes, he was.
Helped him. So, yeah, this is Newbee starting to fall behind. I don't know what they can do now. It has to be off this Baron. That was a cute play, but Talon just not doing the damage needed. It had to be all Talon on that one.
And when Scout gets these shields onto either Mouse or Zet, that's extra lifesteal, is extra shielding coming out from Scout with his item pickups. Like, they are not going to die in a hurry, and they're going to deal more damage towards you. It's just such a big augmenter in these trades. And plus Fireloli, I'm pretty sure he threw down a long-range redemption as well, which also saved Mouse's life. So it was everything coming together from EDG, and it's just this composition. When it's ahead, it's incredibly impressive. Getting ahead is hard, but once you have it, very difficult to fall back behind.
Yeah, we saw these comps coming up initially when Xiaogu was utilizing Karma, and then suddenly Karma was coming up out of nowhere. You started to see Ardent Center, Athene's and Holy Grail. Doesn't matter if he's going into an AD matchup because that's just all on the shield. B is coming in. This might be the last play they could make to come back into this game.
Depth charge right on top of Scout. We need this engage to happen. Dredgeline comes in. Big Strangleforms and the full combo out from Newbee. Finds the first kill of the fight. Coco into the back lines, waiting out this exhaust. Jumps onto Zet. There's too much shielding. Zet will slay him over the wall. LWX, he walks in, instantly dies, but Zet taken out. Big fight for Newbee. This could be it. Swift backing away, has the overcharge damage in from the passive, but Mouse comes in there for the kill, and Mouse still alive with Meiko. It's a 2 versus 2. V looking for the suck, connects it onto Meiko, but just has more damage coming in for the double buffs. Mouse's damage will add up in the end. That turns into a 4 versus 4.
That is as good as you can get, Newbee. They took down Scout, and so that's the one point of safety, a major point of safety for Zet. So he came down falling incredibly fast, and you can see it started out. Look where Fireloli is. He has no way to come into the fight. He could come in at a flank, so that Scout immediately dead. He couldn't stand alive for the redemption that was falling through. So look at Zet. He has no way to shield up for himself. The shield it's just a tiny bit, and that was the Lulu shield. He was able to kill down Talon, but yeah, they all go on top of him. They kill him out, and thankfully they have Mouse, who was able to rotate from the bottom side of the map to this place. Otherwise, it would have been a complete loss for him.
I gotta say, well played to V as well, getting his last bit of damage onto Meiko. I didn't think he could do it, but in the end, of course, he was going to die to Mouse. And well, it was a 4 for 4, as Mouse is completely by himself. Newbee will find that instant pick, and now Baron may be on the cards. Yeah,
44-second death timers out of Mouse. This is going to be the one opening Newbee needs to get back into this game.
This could be a blunder from EDG. We'll see how this play turns out. More. He's going to take that full ace in the hole from Zet. Fireloli just around the corner. He wants to try and contest. Zoning ultimate. Would have looked for the horizontal one, really. Coco's dropping low in the backside, looking for this to come down, and it's secured by Swift. Fireloli comes in, looks for the kill, gets one onto Swift. Zet on the front lines, but he's getting torn apart. Huge shielding coming in from the side of EDG, and that's going to find what? Find 2 kills, and try and salvage the situation. Moore wants to get away. Piltover doesn't land, but Fireloli is on the hunt. He's derping towards Moore. Doesn't find that root caller, and Coco has already made it out.
Yeah, thankfully for Newbee, they get 2 people with Baron on. Even though they lost that fight, that's what they needed. Now, with 25 seconds in terms of death timers for V, and LWX and Swift, EDG doesn't have anything they can pick up, so what they can do is back away on base, get the gold that they have to just get it on top of items. Maybe we have a rapid-fire cannon for Zet, and just go on to the next team fight. Because suddenly, Newbee can look to start shoving out these lanes.
Coco's on the hunt for a Fireloli, but Fireloli will just hit him in the face with a root caller, and that's Ivern.
Take a look at that champion. At least he's not playing it with the skin.
Yeah, at the very least. Small mercy.
Yeah.
Like, he understands he has to play it in this game, but he understands at the same time he doesn't need to inflict pain on the viewers and the shoutcasters.
Ain't nobody want to listen to those sounds.
No, none at all.
The nastiest sounds I've ever heard.
It really is. But EDG, with a couple small missteps there, has led Newbee to the situation where they are holding. I mean, it's still very much dire straits for Newbee, but they have a foot in the door.
Yeah, they don't even lose out too much. Sure, the dragon goes down here with Cloud Dragon, so they can actually just accrue farm in the bot side of the map. Looks like Varus is going towards the IE. You see some actually going towards the Guinsoo's Rage Blade. It's going to be an IE build. But if they can get these items for himself, LWX was really manly in the last team fight, and how he was able to flank out and look at that instant kill on Zet. If he gets a little more items for himself, a lot more crit, maybe he has that opportunity that Zet has had throughout these entire fights where he's just able to get these lucky crits for himself. Sure, he's stacked up crits, but he's been getting every auto attack has just been a crit. So I just
that's true.
It's a little unlucky for the side of Newbee.
Yeah, a little bit of RNG coming out there. Knight's Vow completed as well from Fireloli. And Zet, this team is really just built around him, killing everybody on Newbee. He's been doing a great job so far, 7-2-3. He's down on 3.5 items.
Ooh.
But Newbee are setting up a good old-fashioned death brush.
I'll tell you right now, there's no reason for them to walk in towards
I was going to say, of all the brushes to check
that was
and
just
to sit in.
a lapse in judgment, I'll tell you right now. They would have every single one of those members
might as well just sit in their base. It's like, all right, let's camp this one specific spot behind our Nexus turret and see if they turn up. Fantastic. Well, EDG is just going to walk through the jungle, take everything away, give this red buff over to Zet, and look for another siege, honestly. Next dragon, it's not even going to be Elder. It will be a final elemental dragon of the mountain, which, again, would be good for EDG. Baron's not going to be up for a while and is just stalled out EDG while they accumulate advantages, consolidate their gold into items. Yeah,
that's what's making it a little harder for EDG, is that primarily they would want the mouse to pressure the opposite side, where they can just sit on top on Baron and have Newbee just walk towards them. Now Newbee have no reason to be on top on anywhere in the map, so they can just sit and defend as a unit. But they do have to worry about, now that they've started to pressure up into this wave, is Kennen on the top side. Who are they going to send towards it? It can't be V, because V has just been getting bullied so frequently, and he does not deal enough damage to actually threaten Mouse.
Here comes the siege. It's being set up from EDG. The line of traps, the line of brush, but Coco waiting over this wall. Wants the assassination. We've seen how difficult it has been in the past, but if he had landed that.
We've seen some ridiculous hooks coming out of him in previous games.
Yeah, minus 1,000 gold Baron power play, as expected. I mean, they were on the back foot, and it wasn't a clear-cut win for them. And it's not like they were able to fire back necessarily in this last couple minutes. Fireloli takes another one, and man, that is just has a lazy collection of blue buff right there.
You don't even have to touch it. But yeah, sure, it was a negative Baron power play, but
it was
items, time. It was time, and it bought them a few items, like the IE being built on LWX finally. He's going to be happy about that. Would not have been able to buy that item had EDG played that one out passively and got themselves that Baron pressure. So he's going to be happy that he has a second chance at life in this game.
Fireloli collecting another buff, because why not? You get a buff, you get a buff, everyone gets a buff. Because EDG are just setting up for another play onto probably a monster objective. They want to play it slow. They've had the same kind of calculated air about them as they did in game 1.
Yeah, and I think their focus this time around is going to be towards Baron. It's not going to be up for, it's going to be up for a minute and I guess 2 minutes.
Sure.
But they're already setting up for it because they know that's going to be the main focus for them. It's tough, and they recognize that it's going to be a hard point to look to dive. They definitely don't want to do that with how Newbee have been contesting them.
Well, that's all of 1 HP.
Alright, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice.
You go back to base.
Life of a Zyra.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's even itemized some health, so didn't even like he's that squishy. But yeah, an empowered Q from Scout, and using the hold does that to a person. Regardless, it's 2 minutes until the next Dragon, a minute and a half until Baron. Coco still waiting for these flanks. It's exactly what he needs to do, but he's being revealed by a nice forward out from Meiko.
Yeah, so they're going to keep chipping this one down until they feel the need to back away and go towards the Baron because of how much vision has been cleared, but this is V going in.
He's pulling the trigger, but the hook didn't land. More's coming in. Big strangleforms, but only Fireloli really caught, and there's lots of damage out from Coco. He flashes away. Daisy taking the brunt of the damage. And Mouse is in the backside with a flank. Finds one, but he just has no Zhonya's in this one. Zet's on the front lines. That's a little too ham as he'll get the shielding out. And LWX was just going in. Zet turning it back around. Just not going to get caught in the rake, however. It's a 2-for-2 jungler support for top lane, mid lane.
They're just going to reset this pressure because Zet is back at full HP. He's such a monster at this point, and Coco and LWX, they can't even dream of essentially getting on top of him, so. Alright.
Zed is so manly. He was literally on the front lines in that team fight when he was up against a Talon, when LWX was wailing on him, Swift and V was still alive, but he just had faith that he'd get the lifesteal and the shielding out from Scout, Meiko, and Fireloli to stay alive.
And granted, if he did not play forward, then they would have lost these fights. Look at that massive shielding. And they tried their hardest. Take a look at how Zet was completely backed away from it. It was a beautiful Rumble ulti. Mouse did this one perfectly fine. He went in there, was able to get the kill on top of Zyra, and gave EDG some time to reset the fight. They didn't lose it out completely because of how well Mouse played that out. With that being said, V getting caught out a little bit.
Oh, right into this trap, but EDG do not have enough time to burn him down. And that last fight was, it was still pretty close, and it felt like EDG maybe not quite on the same page as Mouse because they weren't jumping on top of Newbee when they were all stunned.
The problem with the EDG's composition, or at least how they played it, they should not back away into the jungle itself. They need to find those wide open spaces so they can actually maneuver away from Rumble's ulti. The stronger he's getting right now, he has himself so much magic penetration that he's definitely going to be burning Zed alive. But he had to get zoned away completely. This could be the fight they're looking for here. Newbee's on top of Baron.
It's a little risky because they're corralling themselves into this small area. Hook onto Fireloli, but I mean, he's got so many shields on top of him. But Newbee are going to resume the Baron. It's down to 4,000 HP. Here comes the teleport as well out from Mouse. We're gearing up. EDG are looking for this initiate. More over the wall though. Massive knockup going to come in along with the equalizer. Zed cannot move in this team fight whatsoever. But now he turns it around onto Swift. But he'll fall. The AD carry is down for EDG. Mouse comes in from the side. But a big win for Newbee. 4 kills for 1. They may look for the Baron, but they are so low.
That was beautiful coming out of Moore. He completely demolished Zed. He just nailed him down. And when he was stun locked, Baron was hitting him too. He was taking damage both from Rumble ulti, the Baron damage. There was no way EDG can save Zed. So this protection composition is not working out well for EDG because Newbee is doing so well at just being able to flank around those positions.
Let's take a look at that one more time, and look at this flank coming in for more.
Yeah, just take a look at where Zed was, because the Nautilus one just hit him right up. He's starting to take damage immediately from Baron. Coco gets right in there. Perfect ulti coming out of him. Sure, Mouse is doing a bit of damage, but the team fight's already done from that point forward.
Whoa, Newbee have started this one off, and Swift is low. He needs to stay alive for this smite. He'll get it in the end because there's no contest from EDG, and Newbee are in a very good situation now. I cannot believe they pulled this back, but with 35 minutes in, Raz and Newbee have a second Baron to their name.
Yeah, and this one's definitely going to be a lot better than the last. That last one was just them holding on to the game. This one is actually them now looking to push that power into a later team fight. Maybe this next Earth Dragon, that's going to be a start. They're going to be able to push down bottom lane and look to focus down that Earth Dragon. I think depends on EDG. Do they feel lucky? Do they want to pick out that fight? From that point forward, then they should be looking towards getting the towers that are still up and available, the mid inner tower and top inner tower. Top inner tower looks like it's hanging on just barely. So that's a lot of latent gold that Newbee can attain for themselves.
And at the same time here, Newbee have picked up 2 mortal reminders, making the sustain even harder to execute in these team fights for EDG. So their composition is starting to fall off just a little. And it was really just down to that initial Baron. And while it was a negative Baron power play, it's what it turned into in the end. It was time, it was allowing Newbee to stay alive in this game, not have it just be finished off from the snowball from EDG.
Oh.
And here comes Coco, looking for the kill on top of Mouse. He just had the Guardian Angel, so they're going to have to kill him twice, but with the ultimate, he's turning around onto Coco. He's going to fall down, though. The rest of the team is on the way. It looks like this is just going to be a pick onto Mouse, in all honesty. He's got to flash away, and the Dredgeline still somehow hits, but, I mean, Mouse, honestly, I wouldn't have flashed there.
Yeah, he was already buying time for his team to get Baron. There's no reason for him to flash, especially since just save it for the next fight when it does come down. Save it for the next time that you set up for the next split push. Except that you lost it. That you lost that. You're not going to be able to get out of there 100%. They're bringing so many people for you. So that's just him panicking a little bit. At a time that you definitely don't want to. Newbee's starting to really push this game forward.
Yep. And V is incredibly tanky, just taking all of these headshots to the face and shrugging off the damage. Tower goes down, and Newbee, now we've got EDG thoroughly on the back foot. Zet getting these kind of flank headshots down, but the ultimate's coming in from V. He wants to find a hook as well. Flashes over the minions, lands the staggering blow, but Zet has so many shields on top of him that he'll easily take out V. The tower exchange, however, from Newbee. And overall, that is a net win for Newbee.
Yeah, no one on Newbee looked to push in that one. They're all flashing away. They're just getting out of there. They just used the time that V gave them to just take the tower. Honestly, probably not the best use of Reborns. You could take them without it, just pressure forward. You don't have to fully commit to the fight, so that's just V being on the different page for the rest of his team. You don't want to flash in. You don't want to look to just all in on Zet. Of course, they're going to be able to protect him under that tower. But either way, they get the tower for themselves. Now they should be able to come back for inhib when they're well and ready. It's a long death time run, dude.
It is. EDG push up mid once more, just try and get some of this pressure. Place down deeper wards for themselves. There's 19 kills to 15. It's gotten very bloody over the last 15 minutes or so here, Raz. And EDG, despite them having these 3 dragons and being in the driver's seat for such a big part of this game, it's now become a game that is pretty much anyone's up for grabs. It's going to come down to these monster objectives because Elder Dragon spawning in the near future. Looking towards the next Baron as well. Of course, the current one's still on Newbee.
Yeah, and Newbee right now should feel confident. Reason why is that in the team fights, Rumble's doing a lot of work in terms of just Nautilus. If he gets the ulti on top of Caitlyn, can layer on top of the Rumble ulti, so she's just going to burn this a little bit. But then, of course, Coco's been playing these flanks incredibly well, so they have to A, focus on him so if he goes down and Zet can feel a little bit safe, not being threatened in that aspect. And it's giving this guy right here, LWX, a lot of time to free fire. So A, Coco, when he does get a lot of damage down with those flanks, it's really impactful solely, but if he's not being able to get a lot of damage, if he dies immediately, it still gives LWX the fire a lot in. Because right now he's so much damage that Zet does have to watch out if he gets any time alone with him.
At the same time, when Zet has those shields on top of him,
yep,
he's basically a tank at the same time while doing an insane amount of damage. That being said, he's having to do the damage of essentially 3 people because many of these members on EDG are just built to support Zet, so he's got so much weight on his shoulders to make this happen for them. But if he does, EDG could still pull it out of the bag. Just the fact, the tenacity from Newbee to come back into this game. This is what I was expecting coming into this series, when Newbee would actually have more of these equal games and actually make these team fights work for them.
Yeah, now that they've wrestled themselves out of a really poor early game, their team fight focus is definitely a lot better now that they know that that primary focus is either, yeah, kill Zed if they can, or take a primary support. If you can take down Lulu, suddenly that's ulti and an extra shield that Zed's not getting, or Scout as they have initially. So suddenly that's the Ardent Sensor buff not coming down so cleanly. They might have caught Mouse or...
Mouse doing? He's got his team behind him though, and V has been locked down from the root caller. Everyone's going to jump right on top of him. Daisy is getting into the scrum of things as well. But V is a little too tanky and a little too fast. EDG will just kind of shove him away.
Okay, Mouse thought he could slow them down and get a fight going for themselves. That was just really risky. It was nice to see Moore just get a 3-man snare. You have to watch out for him because he's definitely looking for these flanks so they can get on top of Zed that much easier. Mouse is playing keep away.
It's Coco. He's looking for this flank once more. So Newbee are keeping EDG at arm's length.
And take a look at that top lane turret. A, it's low, but B, there's a wave already just crashing into it. EDG have to deal with that. Someone has to take that. So that resets pressure coming out of EDG.
Such a crucial time in the game as well here, Raz, because Baron is coming up in less than a minute. Elder Dragon coming up soon as well. EDG need to make a decision on where they place down this vision, and they're going to be slow and late to the punch, meaning Newbee will be there to contest that vision.
Should be Baron. EDG's already setting up for it. And they already have such a good comp if they can get the initial trust. They can't take pressure if they lose it. That's what's really worrying. Okay, that's a massive.
Yeah, that's
crit.
a lot of damage.
Right, you know what?
Okay. Well, if Zet starts hitting people, he's going to hurt a lot. We've just realized that was one auto attack. EDG are setting up on this Baron now, taking away this crab. They're in a great position. I was just looking at Mouse, and he is double Flame Horizon B. I guess that's the Mouse Horizon. We can name that. Over 200 farm ahead of his opponent.
I suppose. V has definitely not been paying attention to sideways. As he should. He's trying to get any fight as he can to get on top of Zet. Meanwhile, Mouse has just been playing the game. And right now, Mouse is with the team. Probably more value with him just being in the side lane. But if he's with the team, they might as well just start on top of Baron immediately. Go.
They do so much damage. They're burning it down. Wow. They're looking for the smite. It's already gone. Smite over to Fireloli. Looking for disengage. Mouse dragged in, but he's stunning up the front lines, and he's got a Guardian Angel as well. Meanwhile, Zed trying to get these auto attacks down. Instant kill into LWX, and it's all gone wrong for Newbee. Mouse, everybody chasing down all of Newbee's lineup. Coco, the only one remaining. And as soon as Zet was unlocked, there was no escape. Scout wants the kill. He's chasing down Coco. He's locked up by the ace in the hole and almost finds the kill, but the minions are in the way. Regardless, it's a 4-for-0, and EDG look for the win.
Yeah, 40-second death timers and the waves coming in. You have to expect that's a win from EDG. And what a clear-cut focus. They were able to burn that Baron down so quickly. And take a look at this.
They're right on to the Nexus. The minion wave's flooding in, and there is nothing that Coco can do about it. Newbee was so close to come back into this series, into this game, but EDG stop it in its tracks and take them out for game 2, 2-0 to EDG.
It wasn't as clean as game 1. Newbee definitely had a bit of life left in them. That they fight, they crawled right back into it. But once EDG got control of Baron once again, that team fight looked phenomenal. Newbee was a little desperate, especially since they didn't expect Baron to go down that quickly. They went on top of Mouse, but Mouse, that's not your primary focus.
As soon as that hook went in, he was like, I've made a terrible mistake.
It's like, can I
everyone's stunned. Like, everyone is stunned. And Zed is killing everybody because he was untouched. And that was very much a red graph, but that massive dip, that cliff that we saw at around the, what is that, the 36-minute mark in from Newbee when they found the first Baron, the second Baron, started turning this one around. That was an extra 20 minutes onto a game that would have been a very fast win from EDG, but Newbee's shown that they do have tenacity. The question is now, Raz, do they have the mental fortitude to carry onwards?
That's a good question. It definitely would have been a stronger question to ask if they had lost this one, because losing to Newbee on that front, with the composition, with the early lead they had, really difficult. But they were able to still secure the victory with this comp. I don't think they'd go back to this composition, because take a look at this. Zet was that primary focus, and it made it a lot easier for Newbee to focus on this team fight. And you could see this was the last fight that happened. Yeah, they go on to Mouse. He was able to get a solid ulti, so they all get stunned. But then just take a look at it. They just got absolutely demolished by the backline of the Runan's Hurricane, firing at every single one of them. Caitlyn was a beast.
I mean, that was basically Mouse, though, because Zet got knocked away because he had to get out of the Stranglethorns, and then Mouse was still just hitting everyone in the front lines and just killing everybody. So it was really that dual threat that we saw coming out of this lineup, and while it was good for one game, it was almost like a 25-minute win. The fact it was stalled out showed that Newbee adapted to it over the series, and that made it harder and harder for EDG to close. So I would say move away from that composition. It got you a win in this series. Great. Go back to something else now. But just the fact that EDG have so many different ways to play the game just speaks more to them as a team, and why they've been so prominent in the LPL.
That's a big point, is that their composition definitely changed in the aspect of mid to late game, right? It was a primary Zet-focused lane composition, but how they played their lanes was exactly the same as game 1, whereas suddenly Newbee didn't find any passive lanes that they were getting ganks up top lane. He was able to get a lead, but then Mouse came straight back top lane and started to hammer on these turrets. The passive advantages are going straight for EDG, and that's just like a applaud the pick ban coming out of EDG. They're able to still get themselves massive leads, and it's mostly based off the fact that Newbee were able to get themselves primary picks, like the Rumble pick, for instance, right? Or at least in this case, it was the Rumble for jungle because they were getting pinched out in the jungle position.
Yeah.
I would have liked it if it went topside. But they had to get Nautilus, mostly because they were really worried about their jungle pool. So they definitely didn't expect the jungle getting instantly hit time and time again in the pick ban. And so that's something that, once again, Newbee will go back to. We'll want to pick something that's a little bit more swift pressured so they can get stronger lanes and not have to rely on gank after gank, especially with a Rumble jungle.
Sure.
So that's a little worrying for Newbee, especially now that they're down 0-2.
Yeah, exactly. And you look towards the team, and it's like, is this a team who can bounce back from that? Because 2 days ago when we saw them take out IG, it was a clean sweep.
Yeah.
Right? Every single game, they built on their own momentum. And it looked like in that game that was maybe the start of the momentum being built back up. When they found that 4-for-4, instantly go back into the Baron and almost like find a win in that game.
Yeah.
Could have been the turning point for them. And I guess we just have to revisit that game and say what actually went wrong in it, because it did come down to a single team fight. But was there anything else that Newbee could have done perhaps in the setup? We saw that EDG had to go back early, for example, before getting that vision down. Could they have contested perhaps? Because as it turned out, EDG just instantly burned down that Baron, and Newbee were 4 or 5 seconds out.
I mentioned it just before they walked into Baron that EDG has a difficult time with their composition to gain control of Baron if they've lost it, right? Because they want to be able to center around Caitlyn, but them pushing forward into a Nautilus, into a Talon flank that you don't know where he is, so they should be threatening that flank more often than not. But if Newbee is able to get onto Baron first, then it's suddenly really difficult for EDG to regain pressure. But they were easily able to regain in that last play. They just walked right in there, and that was Newbee on the map first. So that's a problem with Newbee, where they're not prioritizing the pressure first. Like, for instance, if the focus is towards Dragon, then go to Dragon first, right? But more often than not, they're not really working well as a team. But speaking of that, of course it was the Zet show, because that was a composition tailored to Zet.
Yeah, it was.
And he's going to pick himself up the MVP.
It was. I mean, that composition was literally a tailored suit, right? Everything was built to fit. And Zet, he made it work. His positioning was honestly very good. A lot of the times I was like, Zet, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But it still worked out because he knew how much shielding he had. And we're going to take a look at that final fight once more. Well, actually, no, this was the previous Baron.
Yeah, there's a lot of Baron fights to really take a look at. This one is... I actually don't even remember which one is it.
It's the one where Zet is just killing everybody.
Yeah.
It's the one where they were actually able to kill Newbee a bunch of times, so their Baron power play didn't turn into much at all. It was just the position that we saw from Zet. The fact he was dragged in there by the dredge line and still was able to recover and knew, I don't need to go backwards, I can keep going forwards and still hit people. And it was just that presence of mind to be able to say that he's able to do that. And to be fair, that whole composition was a massive trust fall for him.
Yeah, it is.
But he still had the clarity in those team fights to go for it.
And it's good that he had that, and that's kind of a base point, because you mentioned it. If he didn't play forward in that at all, then the composition would have failed. With how many shields that were coming down on him, with the damage being fallen off of Karma, she's not going to be able to deal damage anymore. It was going to be off of Kennen and the Caitlyn. If he doesn't walk in that far forward, then they're not doing damage anymore. So he did well in that aspect. I still think that Mouse played really well, even though he did fall earlier on, just level 1. He still continued to pressure. He was put into 2v1 situations constantly. He outplayed that one. So there were a lot of times where Mouse was able to win them team fights and also just win out the laning phase, even when he got 2v1 pressured, which is that's why I think that Mouse played that one just a tad bit better. But you still got that one, Zed.
Yeah, what I liked about the second game and the first game in contrast was we got to see the strength of the mid laner, Scout, constantly just killing people, and we got to see in this game the strength of Mouse and also Zed as individual carries. So when you combine all of that together, it seems very difficult to actually defeat that team, honestly, as a lineup. But still, Newbee are going to try and